Today's daf is Masechet Nedarim, Daf Nun Hey. We are at the Mishnah at the top line. The Mishnah continues to discuss in Nedarim that the explanation of the neder depends in what the Lashon Bnei Adam is, what the words that people normally use to speak. So Zak the Mishnah, Hanoider min hadagan. If somebody makes a neder not to eat grain, says Aser gam bepul hamitzri. So the halacha is, Zak the Mishnah, that it Aser even in pul hamitzri ayavish, which is a certain bean, the Rambam Pirush Mishnah says, which is only found in Egypt. So Divrei Meir, that's where a Meir holds, because we say that people will include, when they say dagan, they include anything that you can make. So the reason why Rameir holds is included because Rameir holds that when someone asks himself a dagan, he means anything that you make a pile out of, just like you make with chameshes min dagan. And pula mitzri is something that's normal to make a goyer out of. It's normal to make it into a pile. Zok the Mishnah. The Chacham is saying, "Any asal chameshes aminim." You only asar in chameshes aminim because they say that's what's called dagan. Pula mitzri is not called dagan. Rameir says, "Hanoider min hatfua any asar ela b'chameshes aminim." Rameir says, "Hanoider min hatfua any asar ela b'chameshes aminim." Somebody that makes a neder from tefua, he's only asar from chameshes aminim. Why? Because when people say tefua, they only have in mind chameshes min dagan. Aval hanoider min dagan, but zok Rameir, I argue and I hold when somebody is noid min dagan, it's asar in everything. Sayin pol hamitzri and sayin other types of kitnius and beans and stuff. Umutter repeyos ilan ubiyarik. The only thing is mutter in is fruits of a tree and yerakas and greens and vegetables, because that definitely you don't make a garin out of. So zakti gemara, zakti heli gemara, lememra. Are you going to say from this that Rameir says that a noid min dagan is also b'chol davar that it's meant to make a garin out of? The dagan called him dagamashpa. Are you going to say that anything that the pshat is in dagan, anything that's made into digan? Maser Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef is going to ask on this. The pasuk in Divrei Yam Beis, Perek Laman Al pasuk Hey says. So you see this pasuk says, first davar has been a story which is dagan tears we use to advance chol for son of ma'isa hakol roiv. From the lashon of the pasuk you see that it mentions tfuas sada besides for the words dagan tears v'yitzer. So that's mashma that there are things which are tfuas sada which are not included in dagan. So zaknim marvi iyamr dagan called them dagan mashma. If you tell me that pshat is that dagan, the word dagan includes anything that you make that you do miruach, that you make a pile out of when you're harvesting it, my kifrei tzadavar herbu. Why the pasuk have to say that you bring trumas u'maises from dagan and also tfuas sada? Why does it have to mention also tfuas sada? Tfuas sada is included l'chor in dagan because something they make a pile out of. If that's what you're measuring. Amar Abaye says that avada dagan means anything taka that you make a pile out of. So why does the pasuk have to add on say tfuas sada? Why does it have to make a separate mention of it? La suye perisilim yarak. It's coming to include even perisilim yarak that it's not normal to put into granis and it's not included in dagan. So that's what the pasuk is coming to saying is included. Zok the Gemara Biter Meir Manoidim tfuah is only asar from chamesh saminim. That's what Meir says. Because when someone says tfuah, it only means chameshes min dagan. Zok the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol moedim menoidim min hatfuah. Everyone agrees when you know tfuah, she'ein asam l'chameshes aminim. You only asam 5 minim. Tainam ha'achi learned on a brayso. Shavin, Rameir, and Rabbana both agree, but menoidim min hatfuah, she'ein asam l'chameshes aminim. You only asam 5 minim. Frankly, Gemara pshita l'chor that tfuah is chameshes minim. What's the chiddush of the brayso? And Rabbi Yochanan, well, what's the chiddush? So the Gemara Ma'al the tefillah tfuah kol melun mashma. I might think when someone says tfuah, anything that somebody brings into his house is nechlal tfuah. Why? Because the targum on the word tfuah is alalasa, which is a lashon of bringing into your house. So when you make a neder on tefua, you should, anything that is included in that meaning should be aser. So therefore, the chiddush is kamash malon deloi mashma kol mili. It's not mashma anything. Though just as kavanah when makes an neder only chameshes mina dagon. And dafka, if someone makes an neder specifically and uses the word alosa, the Targum word, then you'll say that includes anything of value that he brings to his house. But if he just says Zatzar and Tfuah, then just Tfuah, just Chameshes Binim is Zatzar. Masav Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef asks a question, V'chafroit hadavar here b'bnei Yisrael, v'chulu. It says in the Pasuk, Reishis Dagan Tirish v'yitzar dvash chol Tfuah sado ma'isa kol aroi v'viu. So the Pasuk's coming to tell you that besides the Dagan Tirish v'yitzar, they also brought Tfuah sadeh. So you see that the Lashon Tfuah is also including things that are not Chameshes Mina Dagon. Because the Pasuk already said before there's Chameshes Mina Dagon. So obviously when it's saying Tfuah, it's coming to include other things. Amarava, Tfuah L'chud, Tfuah Sada L'chud. The Lashon that it says in the Brayso, when Stam uses the Lashon, or the Stam Lashon Tfuah, is one thing, and Tfuah Sada, which you're using in the Pasuk in Divrei Yom and Beis, that's a separate thing. Tfuah sada is takamashma, anything that grows in the sada, in the field, and not dafka chameshes midaga. Zok the Gemara weiter. Marbar Shmuel Pakid, the son of Shmuel, he requested before he died the lisnon tleisa alpha zuzula rava, that his Yorshim should give 3,000 or 13,000 to Rava min alalta nahar panya, from this halalta that was found on a river which was called Panya. Shalcha Rava l'kamei Rav Yosef halalta heichimikarya. So Rava sent to Rav Yosef Alalta Heichemikarya. What is included in Alalta? Amar Rav Yosef Masnisin, he said it's a Mishnah. What's called Alalta? The Shavim ben Oidim ben Atfuah she'ein asal b'chemeshes aminim. And you see Rav Yosef holds that the Targum of Tfuah is Alalta. So if Alalta is included Chameshes Midagan, Amar Le'abaya Midami Tfuah loy mashma. So Rav Yosef was saying that you see from the Mishnah, from the fact that you say Tfuah is only also for Chameshes Minim, that, and the fact that the Targum of Tfuah is allowed us, so they would only include Chameshes Minim. Abaye was telling him, what do you mean? Tfuah is only mashma Chameshes Minim. But if you say the word alalta, which he did say, which Marbar Shmuel said, then that should include anything that's of value, which a person brings into his house, and not only chameshes mini dagan. Sadrul kamei Rava. So they brought this tshuva that Rav Yosef said in front of Rava, that alalta only includes chameshes mini dagan. Amar, so Rava said, haloi kami boyli da alalta kamu mashma. He said, isn't it said that alalta includes anything of value that a person brings to his house, and not like Rabbi Yosef said it only means chameshes mina dagan? He said, that's pasha to me. That wasn't even my question. But hadahu di bayli, but my suffix was schar bottom or schar sfinas mine. Is the rental income that comes from renting houses and boats, is that included in alalta? Is that shvach that a person brings into his house? So that's what he's saying. That was my question. That's what I wanted to know. That's what I sent to Rav Yosef. What's the halacha? And what was my shayla? My shayla was, me, I mean, came into pachs on lav alalta. Do we say that since there's depreciation in the guf hasvina or the house, so it goes down in value al yedei its usage, and therefore it's not called alalta, because alalta is something that goes up in value and not something that goes down in value. And Mela, you cannot collect. In the Yerusha Mar Shmuel, they would not be able to collect from the alalta, because that's not included in the alalta. It's something that depreciates in value. Idoma kedenly dia pachsayu. Heyois, that the pchas is not nicker right away. It only depreciates over years. And le'uma zois, they do gain right away from the income that comes in from these assets, the boats in the house. So maybe it is called alalta. See, alalta here. Maybe you will say that is alalta. Meaning you're not going to look at the property. You're looking more what comes out of the property. So very lumdish suffix he has over here, Rav. He wants to know, is that called an alalta? He's saying that was my suffix. He's saying I didn't have the shaila b'chlal if alalta is included, if it includes these things. That's klar. It's not a shaila. Not like Rabbi Yosef said. So Amru Rabbanon, the Rabbanon said, Kamid Rabbi Yosef, this that Rava said, that it's pasha to him, alalta is kol mi lemashma. Anything that has value, and someone brings it to his house. Amar, so Rabbi Yosef said, Chime'achar deloy tzarach lan. If Rava did not need my opinion on this, and if Pashat Alalta includes everything, am I Shalachlan? So why did he send to ask me a question? Ikbar Rabbi Yosef. So Gemara says that Rabbi Yosef had a kapeda on Rava for asking the question. So Shama Rava. Rava heard that Rabbi Yosef wasn't happy with him. But also he reached him, he arrived to him on Erev Yom Kippur to Rabbi Yosef and to ask him Mechila. He found the shamash of Rabbi Yosef was pouring his Rabbi Yosef a cup of wine. Amar lei. So Rava told the shamash of Rabbi Yosef, Havli the imzig le'ana. He said, bring it to me, I'll pour his kos of wine. Yav leiv kamazaki you kos of the chama. So shamash gave it to him, the wine and the cup, and Rava poured it and he gave it to him. Kikashasi, when Rav Yosef drank the kos of yain, Amar Hade Mizgad Damil Mizgad the Rava Breda Rav Yosef by Chama. He said the taste of the wine that was poured in the cup, it tastes like Rava poured it. So the Rana explained, how did he know that Rava poured the wine? Because Rava says in Shabbos Tafayin Zayin that any wine that is pachas from 3 chalakim, water is not called wine, and because it's too sharp to drink, too strong, and that's how he knew that Rabbi Yosef said that memra in the Fine Zion and Shabbos. So that's how Rabbi Yosef knew that Rava gave him that wine. That's what he could taste it in the wine. So Amar Hadei Mizgad Dam Mizgad Rava Amar Lei, who knew? So his shamash told him, yeah, you're right. It was Taka Rava that poured it. Amar Lei. So Yosef told Rava, Loi Tesiv. Don't sit down, rather stand up, akarach on your feet, Ada Amar Li Perush Dahadim Mosa, until you explain me this pasuk. Ma'idich Siv Midbar Parak Chaf Aleph Pasuk Yitchesi Yites. Midbar Matano Nachlio Menachlio Bames Bames Hagaya Shavestay Moav Roish Hapiska V'Nishkafa Al Penei Hayishimain. Those are the words he asked him to explain. A pasuk about Midbar Parak Chaf Aleph. So Pshat in the pasuk, the Rashbam says that all these names in the pasuk that the pasuk is mentioning are places of travels where the Yidden traveled. And Rav Yosef was asking him, why weren't these places written in Parashas Maseh where the Torah lists all the places that they traveled? Also, Rav Yosef was bothered with, how come the Pashas doesn't say Lashon Vayisu, that they traveled? So Zakti Gemara, Amalei, Rava told Rav Yosef that this is how you could dash on the pasuk. Since a person makes himself, once a person makes a person himself, he's mafker himself, to learn Torah. Torah is given to him as a gift, and it's b'skayim, and he doesn't forget it. Shenemar midbar matana, became shenitun loy matana. So once it's given to matana, so shenemar midbar matana became shenitun loy matana, and once it's given to him matana, and he doesn't forget it. Nachlei keil. So that person is called Nachlas Hashem. It's considered the inheritance of Hashem. And that's what the pasuk is saying. Shenemar matana nachlio. The keva shenachle kale oilu the gedula. Then he reaches greatness. Shenemar uminachlio bamois. Nachlio bamois. So bamois is a lashon of goiva ugedula, greatness and height. Zog the Gemara weiter. The im hikbia atzmai, and if the person starts getting feeling good about himself and he raises himself and he takes gedula for himself, then he becomes migasi ruach v'akadosh baruch hu mashpilo, and Hashem will make him lower. Shenemar, it says in the Hemshech Pesukim, u'bamois hagai v'lo yoid. And not only Hashem is mashbal semenetz miska from Bamis to Emek, Ella Shashoikan Oisa Bakarka. People will be mavaza him, and it'll be ki'ilu, they sink him into the ground. Shenemar v'nishkaf al pnei Shimon, like the pasuk said a little after that. V'nishkaf al pnei Shimon v'mchoizer boy. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Magbiyah. What happens if he does tshuva from his gaiva? Then Hashem will lift him up again. Shenemar kol gei yinaseh. That even if Hashem was mashpil him, but if he goes and makes himself humble again, then Hashem will pick him up. Zog the Gemara weiter. Gemara brings a bryce. Tanya, hanoider min dagon. If someone makes an neder not to have enough from dagon, from grain, aser afa pola mitzri yavesh. It's aser and pola mitzri, a certain bean from mitzri, from Egypt, which is dried out. And that's like Rameir in the Mishnah, aser that says that pola mitzri is included in dagon when it's yavesh. Mutter balach. However, pola mitzri, which right when he gathers it, when he harvests it, it's still soft, it's still moist, then you do not make it into dagorin, and it's no cut, and it's eaten like other yerakas, and then it's not included in dagorin. Mutter ba'iris, his mutter in rice, which also is not derech to make a gorin. So too his mutter in chilko, which is wheat, which is split. Betargis, which is split in 3 parts. Betisni, which is split in 4 parts. And therefore it's not included in his nether. Zok the Gemara, another halacha of Brisa says, hanoider min peres hashana. If somebody asks himself that all fruits that grow this year, aser b'chol peres hashana, it says aser in all the peres of the year until Tishrei, till Tishrei is aser. However, Zok the Brisa, he's mutter b'gedayim etloim, these animals, b'chalav and milk, or beitzim and b'gozalis, small birds, and eggs. Why? Because when people say the word peris, they include just fruit that grow on a tree, and not something that grows out of the ground, and not these things. Im amar gedulei shana lai aser b'kulan. If he says something that grows this whole year, I'm aser, then he's aser even in these animals and eggs, because gedula means something that grows, not dafka, something that comes out of the ground. Zokta Brisa Vayter, hanoider min peris haaretz. What happens if somebody makes an nether not to have enough from peris haaretz? Aser b'chol peris haaretz. Aser from any peris that are yoinik from the ground, side priya, 8 side trees and side little bushes. When mutter b'kamein petris is mutter in mushrooms. However, his mutter in mushrooms. So his mutter in these things. Why? Because these things do not absorb. They don't have roots in the ground. It just grows out of the ear. Vim Amar Gedula Karkalaya. If he says anything that grows out of the ground, Asar B'chulin is Asar even in mushrooms, because they grow. They come out of the ground. They grow out of the ground. They do. Zok the Gemara, very mini. I'll ask you a steer on this, because learned in the Mishnah Brachas not mem base. Al davar shein gedulam and art, something that does not grow out of the ground. When you eat it, you make a bracha. Shakal nim advar. V'tanya. And we learned in the Brisa what is something that does not grow out of the ground, that's ein gedulim in aretz, al hamelech v'al hazamis, v'al kamein u'pitriyos, or mishahakol neim devari. It says on salt and zamis, which is water of salt, some sort of like liquid. Well, Kamenu pitches, you say Shahakon Yom Devar. So what do you see from this brisa? That they're not considered Geduli Karka, and that's why you make a Shahakol. So how come if you know you didn't make Geduli Karka, you also even in Kamenu Pitria? So Abai says, Mirba Rava Ma'ara, Avada they grow out of the ground, from the moisture of the ground. So therefore, Lagam Nedarim, it's considered Geduli Karka. However, Meinak Me'avir Yanki. If you want to say what do they absorb, like where do they get their koiches from to grow, that does not come out of the ground. That comes out of the ear. They grow out of ear, not from the ikar yanika is from ear and not from the ground, and therefore you do not make a bari priyadam because the ikar yanika is from the ear. Because a bari priyadam you'd only make on something which the ikar yanika that gets fed into it that makes it grow is from the ground, which is not commanded in pictures. It's not what you mean when you're making a neder, a gedulei karka. You mean anything that looks like comes out of the ground. I learned in the Mishnah, it says something that does not grow out of the ground, which is referring to Kamein and Pitrius, that you make a shahakol because it's not gedulei aretz. It's not considered gedulim in aretz. Zok the Gemara Tanei al davar she'ein yoinik min aretz. No, it's not the pshat. It's ein gedulim in aretz. Read it al davar she'ein yoinik min aretz. That it's not getting fed from. It's not getting fed from the ground, and therefore, Kamein Pidros b'chlal brach of shahakol, which are not yoinik, like Abaye said. Okay, Zok the Mishnah Vayit. Hanoyim naksos. If somebody makes a nether not to have enough from wearing clothes, mutter b'sak is mutter in a sack which is woven out of like hairs. Ubiria, and a beged which is thick, which is not woven. It's not sewn. And Muki Yosef says it's referring to, it's like made out of animal hide. Uria. Bachamila, he is mutter and chamila, is a certain type of beged that he covers the head, b'shas, that it rains. That's Ram Persham Snai says another pshat in Muki Yosef that it's the type of beged you wear when you carry packages, that you shouldn't hurt your shoulders. So these types of begadim are mutter because it's not considered begadim that you wear, that when you make a neder, you're asking yourself, begadim, you mean begadim that you normally wear. These begadim are not considered b'chlal ksus. Omar koyim tzemer oile alai. If he says, I'm answering tzemer, wool that goes on me, mutter l'skas to be gizei tzemer, it's allowed to cover himself with shears of wool. Because he wasn't, he didn't mean, we say it wasn't mischam to make a neder on just regular stam tzemer, only something that is normal for people to cover themselves to wear as a cloth. Ha-pishtan oilan alai. Also, if he said koinim pishtan that goes on me, mutter l'skas banite pishtan, is allowed to cover himself with shears of pishtan after they comb it or whatever, where it's not a finished product, because his kavanah was to wear a beged pishtan, like a shirt, a sweater, whatever, made out of pishtan. Yehuda says, ha-koil fi ha-noider. It all depends on the matzah that the noider made the neder in. Because stam lashon, when the guy says oila alai, we say that his kavanah is ta'aser, something that's clothing. But ta'an v'hiziyah v'yorechoi kasha, if he was wearing something, some heavy piece of wool on himself, and he was schwitzing machmas, the weight of it, and his reichoi was kasha, it was smelling, and he was having a hard time, he was huffing and puffing, and b'toich all that, he was like, Amar koinim tzemer pishtam oila alai, he said, oh, I'm answering all the stuff, then his mutter l'skasais, In that case, it's really fakert. He's allowed to wear it a wool sweater, but he's not allowed to wear it as one of these, like a piece of equipment on himself, like it was at B'shas he made the neder, which what he was asking himself clearly to use it in that oif in which he was showing displeasure in. So we say about his kavanah was when he made the neder was not that he didn't want to be mitzayir himself, and not from wearing it in that case as regular clothing. Zok the Gemara, Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, hanoidim min aksos. If somebody makes a neder from a ksos from clothing, mutu b'sak b'yiriya b'chamila. His mutter in these thick clothing that are not used to wear as clothing, but aser b'punda. He's aser in like a so the aser b'punda he would be aser in like a belt which is used to hold money, which is it's a fanny pack, I believe that's what it's called. Ube pis kia, a very wide belt. Ubis kortia. The Gemara is going to explain what it is. Bukatavlia, a cloth that's made out of hard leather, which people wear. Vampilia, and a clothing that people wear on the feet, whether it's like stockings or socks. The Aruch says that it's like shoes that cover most of the foot. Some are made out of beged, and some are made out of cloth, and some are made out of leather. Okay. Uplinia, and he's also mutter in a plinia, which is an apron. He's usher in an apron, and mechrasayim v'koiva, and pants or hat, which is all normal for people who wear. So he's usher in those things. My escorti, what is escorti? We're saying that he's usher in escorti. Amarabachana kituna detzala, a shirt that's made out of leather that people that are working on leather, they wear that like on top of their shirt. Zakting Gemara weiter. Tani learned in the Brayso, yoitz in besak ava. That if somebody is noider makes a neder to and asks him something ksos, so the halacha is what? That he's mutter to wear a sak, a yuriya v'chamila, because these are not really clothing. These are more like equipment that people wear for different things, like we had before. So the Gemara is going to say that, however, lamaisa, even that it's not included in masa, it's not considered carrying on Shabbos, and on Shabbos where it's also to carry Rosh Hashanah, you're allowed to wear it on Rosh Hashanah. So Tanya, yoitzim besak avo besagos ave, it's something that's also similar to sak, b'yariya b'chamila b'nei agashamim, if you want to protect yourself from the rain. So even though it's not considered nice clothing, you're wearing it as clothing, it's not considered a masa. Why? Because lamaisa, some people wear it in Moisei Geshamim. At the end of the day, people walk around with it on rainy days. Aval, you should not go out on Shabbos, loy b'teva v'loy b'kupa, not in things that, let's say, a big backpack that has a box and it's meant to carry things, v'loy machzeles, and not with mats that are meant to lie on, even if they're meant to protect objects, Minei Geshamim, because these are not called regalim, and it's considered a master in Shabbos, and it's also to go out in Rosh Hashanah, and it's a iser carrying. Haroyin yoitzin besakin. So if it's a type of piece of equipment, although it's not clothing, it's mutter to go out. It seems like if it's something that people wear in the Yimei Geshamim. However, if it's something that's meant to carry some sort of it's like a briefcase or something that's meant to handle bags or whatever, or something meant to protect bags, even if it's meant to protect bags because of rain, but that is going to be aser. Haroyin yoytze b'sakim, royim pastures are allowed to go into Rosh Hashanah with sacks to watch and protect themselves from rain. But lo yorim b'van, not only royim are allowed to go in Rosh Hashanah, but kol adam is mutter to go out with a sack. El shadiru chacham b'haver, chacham chapt on royim, because by them it's normal to go out with sack in Rosh Hashanah. Yehuda says in the Mishnah that all depends on the noider. If he was wearing, if he was wearing certain things and he was showing displeasure in them. He was having pain, and he made a neder. So you say he means to aser that things that he was having pain from. That's what Yehuda said. Second Gemara, Tanya learned about it. Ketan Yehuda Kolofiano. How you love a stemmer was wearing wool, the hatzar, and it was tight on him, and he was having a tzar for him. But Amar Koinim Tzemar Oilo Alai, and then he's also looking to a regular big tzemar, not a wool sweater, because that's what he was having a tzar from. Mutter litoin, but he's allowed to wear something that's meant to be used as a piece of equipment that's made out of tzemar, that's meant to hold big packages. Hayaton Pishton, the Hiziyav was wearing Pishton, and he was sweating, and he's having pain, and he had tsar, and he said kain and pishtin oila alai. Then he's mutter loboish va'asalit, and then he's allowed to wear a clothing of tzemer, but he's not allowed to use these pieces of equipment of pishtin and tzemer, which he was having tsar from, and therefore he made the neder on that. And we say that was his intention when he made the neder to aser these specific kinds of clothing or pieces of equipment that he wears on himself.